Hey there, I'm Ken. Welcome to another episode of CRT. In my previous videos, I have talked about when I got into retro collecting, how I wanted to go original on things, how I wanted disk drives and tape drives for my computers, and how I wanted discs and tape games for those computers, for those drives. And then I got a disk drive emulator for my Apple computer. And I also got one for my Atari computer. And I discovered, well, I kind of like those because they do make those old computers much, much more usable. Well, I decided that it's time to get into the new millennia with my CoCo 2 computer, so I got this, which is a CoCo SDC. And I'll leave a link down below on where I bought this. This video is not sponsored. I bought this with my own money, so I'm going to open it up, plug it in, and give you my opinion on what I think of this. So, let's get started. Okay, let's open this package up. And there it is. And now, I'm going to look up how to use this. So it's taken me a couple of hours to get this thing running properly. Now, the reason that it took me a couple of hours was my own stupidity. If I had just actually read the instructions and did what it said, it would have worked immediately. The problem that I ran into was that the SD card I used was too large and it had the exFAT file system on it, rather than, as it says in the instructions, the FAT16 or FAT32 file system that it runs best with. So, once I figured this out, I reformatted the SD card and now it works fine. So I'm not going to reinvent the wheel here. I'm just going to show you a couple of the commands that you use to mount discs and play games. First thing you want to do with this thing, of course, play some games. And there's a lot of instructional stuff out on the internet and on YouTube and everything else that'll show you more in-depth things to do with this. I haven't figured any of those out yet, so but I am going to also show you and tell you the main reason that I bought this, and it's going to affect some future videos. So let's get started looking at this. Alright, I hope you can see this screen that here we've got the SD card in. Now one of the first and most useful commands is dir dash, and that gives you a directory of what is on your SD card. Another one is drive, which gives you a list of 4 drives. And normally you would mount something on drive 0. So if you want to go into, say, so I've got the 2 directories there, games, 2 folders, games 2 and games. So let's take a look at, say, games 2, or games. Let's go into games. You would go directory equal games. Now, when you do the directory dash, you get a list of what's in the games file. So let's say we want to do Tetris. So you can mount that to drive 0 by going drive 0, comma, Tetris. And now, if you look at your listing of drives, the Tetris disk is now in drive 0. So we can go directory, and there's one file on there, bin file of Tetris. And we load Tetris. And there we go. We're playing Tetris. Okay, so the computer's reset. There's nothing mounted in the disk drive, as you can see. Now, if you want to create a blank disk, what you do is you mount to drive 0 a disk that does not exist, so we'll just call this test.dsk and let it know that this is new. Now, test disk is now there. Oh yes, we're in test disk, so there's nothing in the directory. Now if you make a quick little program, there we go. Now we save that as, we'll just call it, say, go-to. Now we look at our directory. There is now a basic program called go-to in our directory of that disk. So I can now save and load disks easily on my computer, which leads me to the point that 35 plus years ago, when I originally had my color computer 2, I had big aspirations of making a video game. I had designed a whole bunch of stuff for it and everything else. I just did not have the ability to implement everything back then, and I never finished it. So now, with this setup, I'm going to attempt to write that program. It's going to be a basic game, just all done in BASIC, but I'm hoping it'll work. There we go. It is now much easier for me to load and save programs on this computer, much easier than with just the tape drive that I have. Now, don't get me wrong, I still love my tape drive. I'm still going to use it from time to time, but yeah, this thing is going to make it, this SDC is going to make everything a lot easier. And I don't want to put anybody under any illusions. I don't think this is going to be a great game. It's going to be a basic game. It's just something that I've wanted to do for 35 years. I started making this game over 35 years ago. It's just something I want to finish. So that's why I'm doing it. And I used to know how to program in BASIC a lot better back in those days than I do now, so I'm going to have to relearn a lot of things. So I'll go over a bunch of it while I'm doing it, and I hope you'll join me for those videos. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed me looking at this CoCo SDC. I do highly recommend it. I think it's a great addition to this computer, just like the other disk drive emulators and stuff that I have for my other computers. This is going to make my CoCo a lot more user-friendly in the modern world. So don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, comment below if you want to, or don't. It's all up to you, but if you do, it would be greatly appreciated. Anyway, I guess I'm going to see you in the next video. I'm going to play with this computer.